want to do it, or no, he's already
I can't
probably...
do a test, but I'm just wondering. Yeah, you got HDMI. So it should be just plug and play?
Yeah.
And
What's your name, by the way?
John.
John? Kimberly. Thank you.
No one's been talking to me, so
Well,
luckily I've been
you don't have
figuring
the
it all
name
out.
tag either.
Yeah, it's
I'll try not to kill myself on the cards.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah. It's all right. Then we'll just say it's his, if you do.
If I break my neck,
Yeah, yeah.
just outsource the
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah, of course. That's what it's all about, isn't
Is
it?
this yours or Rob's?
Someone.
Okay, perfect. All right.
I've got a whole bunch of stuff.
This is awesome. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We are going to get started in a few moments. So I'll ask our volunteers that if there's anybody standing out in the lobby to ask them to come in so we can get started shortly. Oh, I almost drank your water. I won't do that. There's yours. There's mine. All right, so I think we'll get started. It's 2 minutes after 8, and I don't want to set us behind schedule already this early in the morning. So everyone, if you're outside, please come on in. If you're inside, please find a seat and make yourself comfortable. Welcome to BC Aware Day. It's our 2019 BC Aware campaign. It's our 5th annual event. I'm Kimberly St. Pierre. I'm the chair of the BC Aware campaign and your MC for today in the main track in the Crystal Pavilion Ballroom here. Looking into the audience, I see some faces that I recognize and others that I don't. So this is fantastic to see a lot of new people in the room. Who's been to a BC Aware event in the past? Excellent. So lots of returning attendees and also new attendees. So this is fantastic. So first of all, thank you for joining. A couple of things about the BC Aware campaign. So as I mentioned, it's our 5th annual campaign. It is produced by the ISACA Vancouver team. ISACA Vancouver has 630 members. On our core organizing team, we have roughly 15 people that start meeting every 2 weeks in and around the sort of end of February, beginning of March timeframe, and run fairly consistently throughout the year to actually make the event happen. So not only do we have those core team members, but we also have a group of close to 50 volunteers today, and you'll see them in the red shirts. So huge effort of volunteerism to make this happen, and that's truly the spirit of ISACA Vancouver. The other thing that's interesting about the BC Aware event is there's a lot of collaboration through the entire cybersecurity community. So that's not just technology, it's everything from governance, risk, compliance, and audit. Throughout the BC Aware campaign from January 28th through to February 5th, there's a number of different third-party events that are happening, as well as sector day events that I'll share a little bit about shortly as well. So there's a lot of opportunity to engage and to learn, and the entire spirit behind BC Aware campaign is to foster that collaboration and really set individuals up to be connected with appropriate business professionals in their work environment that they're going to need to be successful in their roles, but it's also a really cool opportunity for some students, and I'll share a little bit about that in a minute. So as I mentioned, this is my 3rd year chairing the BC Aware campaign. Next year, I'm actually going to be stepping back in a past chair role, so I'll be joining Justin Melchevsky in a past chair role, but still heavily involved in the campaign. Katie Shetelnitska with the KPMG team is going to be taking on the role of chair next year, but there'll be, again, a big team behind her to help make that successful as well. A Couple of things that are new this year. Obviously, we're at a different venue. The success of the event has been so overwhelming that every year we keep outgrowing every venue that we've been in. So we're hoping we're able to stay here at the Pan Pacific for a while. Past it was at the Telus Garden, and then, of course, last year at the SFU campus. So I'll share a little bit more of where the actual talk tracks are happening today in a few minutes, but thrilled to be at the Pan Pacific. It feels like we've grown up and we're kind of in the big leagues now. So a few other things that are new this year. What we've done is, again, leveraged our extended business community and worked with a number of business partners to create some third-party events. So we've always had the health sector event. I don't know if any of you have been to that event previously, but what we've done is introduced a couple other industry sector days. So we've got retail, local government, as well as energy, mining, and resources. My goal for next year is to also have a financial sector day. So if there's anybody in the financial vertical that is interested in volunteering, please come see me. The other new item that we have is BC Aware Awards. This is something we've not done in the past, and we felt that it was really important to recognize individuals in the community that are either a cybersecurity leader or a cybersecurity practitioner. So this afternoon at the Hitachi System Security wrap-up party, Marcus Lincoln on our team will be presenting those awards, and Justin will be saying a few words about the actual the selection process this afternoon as well. One of the, I'd say, big changes this year is our heavy focus on women in IT security. Last year we realized that we didn't have the representation that we wanted to from the women in the IT and cybersecurity community. So when we decided to focus on women in IT security this year, we meant it. 32 speakers total, 40% are women this year. Thank you. Big difference from years past. So it's a fantastic opportunity to learn about some of the things that these female leaders are doing within the cybersecurity community, and you'll hear a little bit more from them this afternoon. We have our first She Leads Tech panel. So She Leads Tech is a program with ISACA globally, and it's designed to elevate women in the IT community and give them exposure to new opportunities and leverage their skill sets where typically we may not have seen that many women. So that panel is this afternoon in this main room at 12:45. So hope you're able to join that. Another talk track that we have is our post-secondary channel. So as we all know, there's a massive talent shortage globally with cybersecurity skill sets, and a big challenge is getting individuals interested and aware that there are cool career opportunities in technology. So not only do we have talk tracks that are designed for the post-secondary panel, we've got, one of them is a networking 101 session, and the other is a cybersecurity panel, or sorry, a post-secondary panel to hear about individuals working in that community. So for the professionals in the room, if you see any youngsters here, either high school students or post-secondary students, please welcome them. Please take the time to engage with them and share some of the exciting things that you like about this great field that we all work in, because it's a collective responsibility to help try to close this skills gap. Another, in thinking the younger community, one of the events that we have going on today upstairs is our Canadian Cyber Defense Challenge. So we have the team from the Canadian Cyber Defense Challenge in Vancouver. They're based in Manitoba. They've come out to Vancouver. They've recruited 10 teams of 4 high school students, and they're actually doing a hacking challenge. So that's pretty exciting this afternoon. So if you see them, please say hello. Last night, we kicked off the BC Aware campaign with our CXO event. So the topic of discussion was, it was an executive symposium around how to achieve tangible and measurable risk reduction. We all know that there's a lot of effort and focus and investment in cybersecurity technologies, as well as talent, processes, resources. How do you measure that? So that was a really cool conversation to have last night, and it was a great way to kick off the event. We were treated to a very special guest, Honorable Minister Ginny Sims was here. In her portfolio of citizen services includes IT infrastructure, and she had some really incredible things to say about what the province of BC is doing, and in fact leading the way globally with some of the things that we're doing here in the province. So that was really promising. A few third-party events that are happening during the BC Aware campaign. So we had our Cybersecurity Nexus Fundamentals course last Friday. Also, at the Surrey City Hall, they had another really cool hacking challenge, which was for high school students. It was the CyberSci Surrey event. Talking to a few of the individuals that were at the event, it sounded like it was very exciting as well. So again, into the younger community as well, which is fantastic. A few other third-party events, the International Association of Privacy Professionals, as well as Thompson Rivers University, and the Institute of Internal Auditors is, those individual organizations are doing events throughout the campaign as well. So if you have an interest in those, please take a look on the BC Aware website under upcoming events, and you still have an opportunity to register. I think there's a few spots in some of those events. Of course, next week, we've got our 20th annual privacy conference put on by the government. We're delighted to be able to say that happens during the BC Aware campaign. I don't want to say we have any influence over the event, but thrilled that that's part of the campaign as well. And then finally, the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner of BC is doing an event. So that's happening, I think it is later this week. I'm going to talk a little bit before I introduce Rob Clyde in a few minutes about who ISACA is. Just quickly, how many of you are really familiar with who ISACA is and what they stand for? So you're not alone if you don't know what they stand for. 3 years ago, when Justin Malchevsky asked me to chair the BC Aware campaign and become involved in ISACA, I had never heard the word ISACA. I didn't know what they were. I didn't know why I should care. This organization is a global organization, nonprofit, focused in everything cybersecurity. So again, not just the technology, but right through governance, risk, compliance, audit. 139,000 members, roughly 188 countries, and 221 chapters. So we'll share a video shortly just to share a bit more about what ISACA is all about. But I have to say my personal experience working with ISACA, and it is a tremendous amount and number of volunteers, has benefited my personal and my professional life immensely. What you learn and the opportunity to connect with like-minded individuals that are maybe facing some of the same challenges as you, whether you're a vendor, a customer, reseller, supplier, what have you, it's been fantastic. So if you're not a member of ISACA Vancouver, you'll learn a little bit more about what ISACA stands for globally when I introduce Rob, but I'd encourage you to sign up. It's been incredibly beneficial and a ton of fun. We were the very fortunate recipients of an award presented by ISACA International last year, the K. Wayne Snipes Award. There's only 4 of these awards awarded annually based on the size of your chapter. And it's because of events like this and because of people like you in the room and sponsors that we have engaged in the event and our volunteers. So thank you very much for everyone who has attended in the past and is returning, and thank you to the new attendees. I guess the momentum that BC Aware has created is overwhelming to me. I had no idea that this was ever going to turn into be such a spectacular event and collaboration amongst the community. So thank you for your support, which helped us achieve that. The keynote sessions today are ranging in topics. I'm just going to mention a few of them, from artificial intelligence, data analytics, cybersecurity awareness, automation, security operations. So in your program, there's a page in the middle here that basically talks about each of the talk tracks. If you didn't get a program, please stop by the front desk there. But talks about all the individual talk tracks that are happening throughout the day. So I suspect that whatever topic you're interested in, you will find something that's suitable. We've got this main area here, and then the other rooms are up on our level, and it's in the Ocean View Suites along the far wall. As you're walking to those Ocean View Suites, you'll see the vendor fair as well, and we really encourage you to spend some time in the vendor fair. Those are the sponsors that are making this event possible, and they've got some fantastic ideas and some of the really cool things that they're working on that help address those challenges. At the back of the room, you'll see a table with documents. What those are is proclamations. Essentially, we have 21 proclamations from not only the province of BC, which is the first time that we've had that this year, so that's fantastic, but also from other municipalities and cities that are getting behind BC Aware and what the event stands for. So have a peek at those when you have a moment. I mentioned sponsors. I want to actually take some time to recognize our sponsors, because without those organizations, not only their financial commitment, but also their employees that work in the local community are spending the time to volunteer and help us make this and other events through the BC Aware campaign successful. So our title sponsor is Cisco. Cisco's returned as a title sponsor, I think, is this the 4th year now? Platinum sponsors, we have Checkpoint, Splunk, Palo Alto Networks, TELUS. For our gold sponsors, we have Change Champions, CrowdStrike, Dimension Data and NTT Security, Fortinet, Hitachi System Security, New York Institute of Technology, Vancouver, Radware, RSA, Rubrik, Scalar, Tenable, Trend Micro, and Trustwave. So those are our gold sponsors. Mentioned the sector day sponsors earlier, or the sector days earlier. Those, again, are not possible without sponsorship. So for the sector day sponsors for local government, we have City of Surrey. For retail, we have CyberArk. And then for energy, mining, and resources, we have Cisco and Wirefire. Brand new this year, we have a startup sponsor category, and we have our very first startup sponsor this year is MergeBase. So please join me in thanking all of our sponsors for their incredible financial contribution, but also their time and their energy. So thank you very much. So final comments, and then I'm going to introduce Rob. We'll play a short video here. Just some housekeeping items. When you're going into the talk track sessions throughout the day, please take the time to scan your badge with the volunteers in their red shirts as you're coming into the room. And if you are staying in a same room to attend the next session that's in the room, if we kindly ask you to rescan, we just need to understand exactly the level of interest in each of these sessions and understanding actually who's attending the sessions. There will be a door prize draw. So this afternoon at the wrap-up reception at 4:30, Hitachi System Security will be presenting the BC Aware Awards, but they will also be drawing for 2 door prizes. So at the front, when you checked in, you would have received a passport, and that would have come along with your program. If you didn't receive that, please pop by the front desk. The goal of this is for you to visit the vendor fair, have them check off when you visited, and then enter, write your name at the bottom, and then enter. There's a draw box out by the registration table, and we'll do those door prize draws at roughly 4:30 this afternoon. So as I mentioned, the main track is here, upstairs on our level, Ocean View Suites tracks 2 through 5 are just up through the vendor fair. There will be a light lunch served in the lounge near the vendor fair at, I believe it is 11:45. And then we're back in this room for 12:45 for the She Leads Tech panel. There is a photo booth that's coming in this afternoon around I think 2:30, 3 o'clock, and they'll be set up for the wrap-up reception. So if you're taking pictures throughout the day, there's a big, beautiful photo wall out there. Make sure that you're hashtagging BCAwareCA. We'd love to get the social media channels to really light up with some really cool and fun pictures. So please take advantage of that. Again, if you need any help at all, please see the volunteers in red shirts. They're all over the place, and they're more than happy to assist. So I'm now going to play a video that's going to share a little bit more information about who ISACA is, the spirit of ISACA, and what they're all about, and then I'll introduce Rob shortly.
Today you see, the impacts on your life with things like Facebook, and with all these privacy issues when your credit cards are stolen and sold and so forth. You do see that this is more challenging, and you see the importance of the work that ISACA is engaged in more so than ever.
I'm very proud to lead the She Leads Tech initiative for ISACA. Our mission is to look to address and improve the situation of the underrepresentation of women in the tech workforce and indeed in the leadership of the tech workforce more generally.
In advocacy and public affairs, we're building a function from the ground up that the organization has really not had in the past. And we really believe that having closer ties to government entities and to government stakeholders will make sure that policy, and particularly technology policy, is practical and actually brings forth our purpose and brings forth our promise.
Our whole purpose and promise, it's how do we achieve the positive potential of technology and do so confidently and inspire confidence in others. Let's do embrace the technology and find ways that we can do it safely.
We are one, we're 50.
We are one. We are 50.
これからの50年も共に歩んでいきましょう。
Happy birthday, Isaka.
Happy 50th anniversary, Isaka. And may you have at least 50 more years.
So we are celebrating ISACA's 50th anniversary this year. What an incredible organization to be part of. So shortly I'm going to invite Rob Clyde up to the stage. Rob is our global chair of ISACA International. We are incredibly fortunate to have Rob here in the room today. He's been to a few BC Aware events in the past. There's over 221 chapters, as I mentioned, with ISACA globally, so it's a real treat to be able to have his time and attention and effort that he puts into the BC Aware campaign. Rob's been a member of ISACA for 30 years and former CTO of Symantec. One of the things Rob's going to talk about today is the Capability Maturity Model Institute, which is now part of the ISACA family. This, for myself, is one of the most interesting things about ISACA, further to the topic that we talked about last night in achieving measurable and tangible risk reduction. What are you measuring that against? What is tangible and who cares? This is a model that can be leveraged, and I'm super excited about that. So, Rob, you can come to the stage, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I guess you kind of heard that I've been around for a while. I am actually older than ISACA, which may not be true for everybody in this room. And so I'm actually in the middle of my third decade of doing cybersecurity. We didn't call it cybersecurity back then. And it was interesting in last night's panel. How many of you were at the panel last night? We have a few that were here. One of the closing questions was asking what's their biggest concern. And several said insiders. Now, interesting enough, when I started my career in this space, it was before the internet. The only thing we really worried about were insiders and the occasional dial-up threat. If you didn't have any modems connected to your systems, you didn't really care much about the external threat. It was primarily insiders. So as much as things change, as much as they stay the same, as we heard last night. Now, having said that, we have an awful lot of new technology, and I am a technologist at heart. So I have been coming to BC Aware for a number of years, and as you saw, we have 221 chapters. There's only one of me, so as chair, there is no way I could visit everywhere. So I thought I'd just say, why do I come to BC Aware? What's important about BC Aware? Well, I have to admit, one of the first things is it is in Vancouver. I love oysters, and this is where the best oysters in the world are. That is a reason. Probably a bigger reason is that a number of years ago I did a presentation for ISACA on leadership, and Justin just happened to be there. And he remembered exactly one thing, that early in my career when I had invented an intrusion detection system, and we had a number of customers running it, we were invited to actually install it for a proof of concept at the NFL, the National Football League. It is Super Bowl week. I did grow up in New England, go Patriots. I was excited to go to the headquarters of the NFL in New York City and install my product. The problem they were having is they had a network where all the teams were networked with each team had a system. And this is before the internet. They were all networked, and they were sneaking into each other's systems to try to steal things to get an advantage in games. Yes, cheating is not new. So my job was to help track down who those insiders were who were doing that kind of stuff. What staff members at the headquarters of the NFL were doing this. So I installed my product, not just on one, but on every team systems, including the headquarters system. It was working great. They were getting alerts, they were seeing things, they were thrilled. Went to lunch, came back, and within 10 minutes, the main system at headquarters crashed. And within minutes, every single system on every team of the NFL crashed. And my contact said, think this could be you? I don't think it could be. There's no way it could be your stuff, right? I said, you know what, I better check. And so I checked, I looked at the system dump, and I was in code, anybody who's coded, you leave telltale signs so it's easy to tell in the dump what it is. And sure enough, there were the telltale signs that indicated it was my software. And my contact was, I'm pretty sure it's not you. That just doesn't make sense. And I looked at him, and I made that hard decision and was honest and said, yep, I'm sorry to say it's our software. Pretty sure we can fix it. And he said, no, you know what? No need for that. You need to leave the building. And so they escorted me to the door, and they said, please never come back. And I've never been back. So Justin remembered that, so that's the reason I'm here. But more importantly, this is a fabulous and important event that we have here at BC Aware. I come because really this is a classic way in which our organization, ISACA, can partner with governments in so many other ways to do something bigger than just ISACA. And if you think about it, that's what we really believe in ISACA, is that we're a force enabler. So I'm going to talk about a few things that Kimberly really asked me to address. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the research we've done at ISACA, some of the things we think about in terms of current security threats and trends. We're going to talk about digital transformation and some of the research we've done in that area. And then, as she indicated, I will. After all, last night we did talk about how do you measure security and how good you're doing. Isn't that like one of the existential questions of being in this profession? And having served on a number of boards, it is the question boards ask as well. How do we know we're doing the right thing? We're spending a lot of money. Are we spending it in the right place? Are we doing the right thing? These are key items. One of the ways we're trying to help is with a cyber maturity platform, leveraging our CMMI acquisition that we did 3 years ago. So let's talk about the state of cybersecurity. We do a study every year. We have a new one. We always announce it at RSA. So if you're interested in the new one that'll be coming out, it'll be at RSA, and we do it in two parts. The first part is workforce challenges. And Kimberly already referred to this. No surprise, we have shortages. 3 in 5 organizations have and are unable to fill cybersecurity positions. I will tell you, in this market we live in today, if you are a cybersecurity professional, this is harsh, but it's the truth, and you are unable to get a job, it's not the market, It's you. You probably need to change careers. If you've been unemployed for a long time and you're a cybersecurity professional, take a hard look at yourself. That's not always true. We've had times in this market, like others, when that isn't true, but that is the state we're at today. Interestingly enough, employers also say that the applicants, 40%, do not have the necessary understanding of business needs. May I suggest to employers, if we have a shortage in the market, hire them and train them. We're not going to always be able to get the perfect match. If it looks like they can actually fit within our organization and they're young, and a lot of times that's the reason they don't have business knowledge. I will tell you, when I was a young man and I was writing some of that code and was kind of more technical, I didn't have a good understanding of business needs either. Like most young people, I thought I knew everything. And that probably, I had my mentors and board directors tell me how little I knew. And I would listen and ignored them. And then, over time, the words they were telling me started to sink in as I really started to understand business principles. Rarely do you just get there overnight. So just kind of keep that in mind. The other one is more troubling. 33% say they lack the technical skills. May I suggest that's what you have to learn in your technical training in school and so on, is really gain that technical knowledge. But also, if they've got the core and it's clear they have a technical aptitude, hire them and train them in the specific areas, because we do have specific areas we need them in. So may I suggest, if those are the reasons you're not able to fill a position, think out of the box. Using training and tools as a way to get there. And also consider cross-training, bringing people in from other careers, say a networking professional, and train them in security. It actually isn't that hard. There are harder professions. Physics, for example, is a heck of a lot harder than learning computer security. I did high-performance computing for a while. Trust me, that's way harder than computer security. We like to pretend it's really, really hard. Actually being successful and never being broken into is hard, probably impossible because of the human element. But understanding the core principles of security and understanding how to learn about different technologies, we can do that. And lots of people can do that. So let's open that as we move forward. And notice how many say their gap is really on the technical side. Training is going to be key if people have the aptitude. And secondly, as Kimberly mentioned, this is part of the answer. You know what the IT profession has in terms of a women population, female population? We are just about at that percentage right here, just looking out. 11%. Do you know what it was 10 years ago? 11%. Wow, we're making progress, aren't we? That's a reason why we formed She Leads Tech. In our specific profession of cybersecurity, IT assurance, and governance and risk, we do a little bit better, but we can do a lot better. And so ISACA funds She Leads Tech in order to raise awareness, prepare to lead, and build global alliances. We're not going to do this alone. We will partner with many other organizations that have similar ideals. So we specifically called it She Leads Tech, not because we think every woman has to become a CEO. We don't think every man has to become a CEO or anyone else. But why not prepare people to lead? Because in any organization, think about your own. There's the titles, there's the org chart, and there's reality of who do you really go to get stuff done. And many times that map is very different than what's shown in the org chart. And leadership is more reflected in that map. And organizations are realizing this, and there's a lot of reality in how team structures and so on are done. I'm confident that if we can do better, and it can start at younger ages, it can start at older ages, and figure out ways together to really take advantage of a group of people that make up more than half of the world's population and have more of them involved in our industry. This is just core. And I'm thrilled that we have this on the program today. Thank you, Kimberly. So the second part of our survey is, okay, what's going on with cybersecurity and the threats? So half experienced an increase in attacks. And 80% say they expect to see an increase again this year. They said this 80% was also the number last year and the number before. And the number, as long as I can remember, has been around 80%. Everybody kind of expects it to get worse. Nobody expects it to get better. We do have a number of different threat actors. No big surprise, cyber criminals, in other words, people doing attacks for money, still seem to be at the top. Then you have hackers. And notice, though, that we have a few other items. You've got insiders. And by the way, a lot of times the way to do cybercrime is to use an insider, so there's definitely some overlap. There's an overlap there. We've had the rise of nation states. And it used to be very small. It's now a significant effect. Most governments have both an offensive and defensive cyber capability. Many governments do not overtly use their offensive side. Some do. And so we see that trend that's happening out there. In the end, it's a lot of the same techniques. It really hasn't changed much. Malicious code, how long has that been going on? We have seen differences with things like ransomware. And last year at larger companies, we saw a drop in ransomware because, frankly, you're better protected. You've done a better job at being ready for ransomware and keeping it from happening. Oftentimes, this starts to come into systems through phishing attacks. I will tell you that ransomware is still exploding because their primary target are small businesses, very small businesses, the small law firm, the police department with 20 people, where they don't have the necessary resources to be properly prepared and will often just pay the ransom. We also saw the emergence of cryptojacking, breaking into systems so you could steal them in order to mine cryptocurrency. That's declined because cryptocurrency isn't worth quite as much. But we're going to continue to see these two types of attacks for cybercrime. Why? Because unlike others where you break into the system, you steal your data, then the criminal has to sell the data. Two-step process in order to get paid. With either ransomware or cryptojacking, you extract money directly from the victim. One-step process. To put it in business terms, it's a superior way to monetize computer crime. And that's why we see a rise in that. I predict we'll continue to see a rise in any type of computer crime that is simpler and that allows the attackers to extract value or money directly from the victim. Think of that as we move forward. We'll see more. Who would have guessed cryptojacking 5 years ago? There's a lot of innovation on the crime side. There will be something new. I'm not quite sure what it'll be, and I certainly don't want to give any ideas on something like this either, because if I do, someone will do it. So we'll see more. And all of them, though, tend to be similar. By the way, a lot of us say phishing. The idea is train everybody to recognize a phishing attack. I got news for you. The way the phishing attacks are going, it will be almost impossible for human beings to detect, and we'll talk more about that. People are going to fall victim to phishing attacks. We need technology to assist us. We're not going to be able to do it just by training. So just keep that in mind. Training's a good idea, but it's hardly sufficient. So here's some of our biggest cyber threats and emerging threats. These are from a couple of different sources, and there's a few I want to get into. I already talked about cryptojacking. Software subversion is not new, but it's just exploiting vulnerabilities. It's been around forever. Unpatched systems. Sometimes figuring out, though, why not put the malware directly into the open source code that so many software vendors are using in their own products. Now you can just get it right from the beginning. It's built right in through the whole DevSecOps. It goes right through, and there's the malicious code that's right in there, unless you have appropriate things happening during the process. We do know how to detect a lot of malicious code. There are tools that'll do a good job of doing that. They need to be run during that DevSecOps process or a CI/CD pipeline. And you should ask that question. Do we have a way in which we're automatically checking for malicious code inside of any open source software that we're using? If the answer is no, and it should be automatic, by the way, not a manual check, although code reviews are always a good idea and you probably should do one, you'll often miss it. We talked a little, the cryptocurrency ecosystems might be attacked. I did want to just mention there's some of this, the Security Magazine kind of mashed both threats and opportunities together. So this threat emulation attack is actually a good thing. There's the MITRE ATT&CK network where you can actually play with and try emulating different threats. It's actually a really useful tool that you might look at. On the other side, on the MIT side, there were a couple of interesting things. Notice AI showing up twice. We can now, using AI, you can produce a fake video of someone saying anything you'd like them to say. That's a little scary. Video is no longer the evidence we once thought it was. And there are startups and companies rapidly emerging trying to figure out how to detect automatically fake videos because of that need. Who would thought we would live in that age? Audio's been done for a long time. And AI is doing it. It's actually easy. It's so easy that it's no longer some expert. We could go out of here today. Each of us could probably spend 2 or 3 days learning how to use these tools and we could do it. It's not that hard. And that's a little bit scary. Blockchain is fabulous, and there's all kinds of new capabilities we can do with blockchain, but hidden, or I should say part of it, in many of them is this idea of code. That's all smart contracts is code, more code, that is inside the blockchain that gets executed. What if that code has a vulnerability in it? And yes, some have. And millions of dollars of certain cryptocurrencies have been stolen as a result. So the blockchain, if it has smart contracts, may be no better than the code that's in it. And that's a little scary if we're using it for money. So just kind of keep that in mind. Some cryptocurrencies have been better than others. We use smart contracts for other types of things in order to allow us to have the benefits of blockchain, but still could be some issues. I do want to just briefly mention this third one, and I'm not going to talk about attacking from the cloud because that's nothing new. Whether a system's broken into in the cloud or on your on-premise and then pointed at you, it really doesn't matter where it's located. Whether it's a virtual machine, a container, inside of AWS or on-premise, it's still an issue. But this one about breaking encryption using quantum computers is huge. If somebody were to say, what is the single event that could cause the internet to suddenly not be trusted? It is this. Underneath the covers, the reason we can do transactions, the reason we can use the internet somewhat securely is because of mathematical algorithms, primarily based on the complexity of breaking, and I won't go into all the mathematical algorithms, but the best known one is RSA, that is fundamental behind the internet, is you take two very large prime numbers, multiply them together, and that's your key, a very large semi-prime. Semi because it's made up of two prime numbers. Turns out, mathematically, to try to use today's computers to factor that prime number back to the two original primes would take thousands of years if the key length is proper. Enter quantum computing in something called Shor's algorithm, which is a quantum factoring algorithm invented over 20 years ago. And you can actually break the prime numbers in seconds. Shor's algorithm has already been proven. It's already been run on smaller quantum computers. It works. Just one problem. Quantum computers aren't big enough. They don't actually have enough what they call qubits, or the quantum bits, which are not zeros and ones, by the way. And once we get enough of those, it's not a question of if, it's when, encryption as we know it today on the internet will be broken. And all of a sudden, overnight, we can't trust anything. Or even worse, governments may have the capability and not tell us. And now they're watching everything and maybe injecting some things. That's an even scarier situation. So fortunately, it's not Armageddon. I will predict, even though MIT put it as a concern for 2019, I doubt we'll achieve that type of quantum capability in 2019. It's probably still years off, fortunately. And we have an effort by NIST, so this is a true problem. That's why NIST is actually trying to come up with new algorithms, and they have a number of submissions, about 60, to use as the new standard that will not be able to be broken by quantum computing. In other words, they're quantum resistant or post-quantum algorithms. And we'll solve that. How many of you were thinking of that problem before you came here? Some of it, good. You should be. You should be. Not because you're going to do anything about it, just keep an eye on it. Because if something happens and somebody says, we have a 300-qubit quantum computer, we're changing the world, and it comes out of China, or by the way, they're working on it, or it comes out of Intel or somebody, and they're all working on it. Google has one. IBM's working on one. They all have them. They're just not big enough. If you suddenly hear those kind of numbers, worry. If you haven't also heard, we have a new algorithm.
Attending that might be C-level, but there's also folks like me that like to turn the knobs every once in a while and tweak things. So I try to include a little bit of everything. And the focus of this is really passive and active defense, but understanding what we've done from a passive perspective, and I think everybody in the industry has done a lot of that. What we haven't, I don't think, done a good job about is around active defense. So I'm Jason Maynard. I'm a cybersecurity expert at Cisco.